did not take his rig out of service. So this one driver touched all 3 states. Based on our review, they are not complying with our rule. And so phase 1 for us, which I'm announcing today, is we are going to give these states 30 days to come into compliance with truck drivers speaking proficiently the English language, or we're going to look at federal funding that they receive under the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program. So I believe California is 20 million or 30 million? 30 million. Washington is 10 million, and New Mexico is 7 million. Correct. Jesse will confirm that in a second, but these are millions of dollars. By the way, this is phase 1. There are other actions that we can take to make sure states comply, and hopefully in the next 30 days we won't have to withhold any money from them, but if they don't come into compliance, we will start with withholding this money, and then we will take additional steps to guarantee compliance. And this is not, just to be clear, this is not just about saying we have some obscure rule that we want them to comply with, that truck drivers speak English proficiently. This is about keeping people safe on the road. Your families, your kids, your spouses, your loved ones, your friends, we all use the roadway. And we need to make sure that those who are driving big rigs, semis, can understand the road signs, that they've been well trained, and that when they're pulled over by law enforcement, they're stopped by law enforcement, or there's a crash and law enforcement responds, they can effectively communicate what they have on their rig. There might be a history that they have to be able to communicate to law enforcement when they're pulled over or there's an accident. And if they can't do that, that creates a significant issue for the traveling public. And so this is step 1. And again, we hope there'll be compliance in the next 30 days. If not, we'll take additional steps. With that, I do want to turn it over to our Chief Counsel from Motor Carriers, Jesse Elison, to talk a little more about what our plan is and how we're going to move forward. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Before I explain the enforcement actions that FMCSA will take, I want to emphasize the 2 dates that you mentioned. May 20th is the date that the Secretary directed FMCSA to implement a new policy, and part of that policy included the assessment to determine whether a driver could meet the English language proficiency requirement. And by June 25th, when CVSA, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, the alliance of the state partners, put the new out-of-service rule into effect, they shared that policy with the assessment as part of it with all of the state partners. And so all of the states have had this information since May 20th and at the latest since June 25th. Today, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration will be serving a notice of proposed determination of nonconformity to the states of California, Washington, and New Mexico. And this notice proposes a finding of noncompliance with the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, commonly referred to as MCSAP, with the qualifying conditions. This notice, the MCSAP program is FMCSA's main formula grant program, and it provides financial assistance to states to reduce the number of severity of crashes and injuries and fatalities. MCSAP funding requires the states to adopt and enforce laws and regulations compatible with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, which includes the English language proficiency requirement. And let me just quote what that requirement is that the Secretary described just a minute ago. But commercial drivers must be able to read and speak the English language sufficiently to converse with the general public, to understand highway traffic signs and signals in the English language, to respond to official inquiries, and to make entries on reports and records. The states must enforce ELP requirements to maintain MCSAP funding. Even before the tragic accident in Florida, taking 3 lives, FMCSA reached out earlier this month to all of the state partners and asked a couple of questions. We were reviewing the enforcement data, and we wanted to know what your plan was, and if you did not have a plan, what actions you were taking to deprioritize your non-enforcement actions. And so we took that feedback and reviewed that in combination with the data that we were reviewing, and part of that data that I'll share with you right now. But those answers were critical in determining these notices to California and Washington and New Mexico because they didn't have a plan or they hadn't communicated with us the steps that they would take to deprioritize what they weren't doing. What we found in determining California between the enforcement date of June 25th and August 21st, so through last week, was that California has done about 34 investigations where they actually cited a violation, and one of those involved the English language proficiency requirement. Very importantly, California inspected over 20 drivers who had previously been cited in other states for an English language proficiency violation and were taken out of service. So what that means is subsequent to that violation, they drove again in California, and California did not honor that previous violation. In Washington, there have been, over that time period from June 25th to August 21st, about just over 5,000 inspections that resulted in a violation, 6 of which did have the ELP requirement, 2 of which were not properly done within the commercial zones. But like California, Washington had at least 4 drivers come into their state who had previously been cited for an ELP requirement violation and put out of service, and they did not respect and honor that previous violation. In New Mexico, over that same time period from June 25th to August 21st, New Mexico has provided 0 violations out of over about 5,000 inspections. And like Washington and California, drivers came into New Mexico, about at least 7 drivers who had previously been cited and put out of service for the English language proficiency requirement, and yet New Mexico, just like Washington and California, did not honor that previous violation and returned them out of service. Just to underscore this point, if an out-of-service violation could be various citations, it could be breaks. No state officer is going to look at a previous citation of a break violation in a state a month before they're doing their inspection and then just not inspect the brakes and just let that driver go on their way. And yet, all 3 of these states are doing that. And they're allowing people to be on the road that were taken off the road. So all 3 of these states will have 30 days from the notice that we send out today to respond to the agency and to provide a corrective plan. And after that 30 days, FMCSA will make a final determination of nonconformity and impose the appropriate sanctions that can be up to withholding all of the MCSAP funding. And as the Secretary said, that's just over, I think, $33 million in California, $10.5 million in Washington, and I think $7 million in New Mexico. We anticipate all of the states coming in compliance. We do not want to penalize the states. We want the states to comply and to enforce the English language proficiency requirement, which is directly related not only to the safety of the citizens of their states, but the citizens of all of the states around all of the United States with drivers driving into those states. And that covers the notices.
Wonderful. Just as a quick note, we have so many great people who work here at DOT. Jesse and I have worked arm in arm for the last 7 months together. You haven't met Jesse yet. You met him today, but this is the hard work and the dedication that our team puts in to make sure our rules and regulations are appropriate to keep people safe. I just want to, I'll take your questions in a moment, but again, we have drivers that were taken out of service because of English language proficiency. They go to one of these 3 states and they're pulled over again. So their records are run by law enforcement. Of course, that's what law enforcement does. And so law enforcement in those states sees this is a flashing light. Listen, this person, this driver was taken out of service in a different state because they couldn't speak English. And what do? Nothing. They turn them loose, put them back on the road. We've also asked for plans from these 3 states to which they have not provided them, which has indicated to us that there has not been a willingness to comply with this rule. And so this is phase 1. We do want compliance. We don't want to take away money from states. But we will take money away and we'll take additional steps that get progressively more difficult for these states. There's a lot of great tools that we have here that we don't want to use. We just want to keep drivers safe, not in just red states. Americans drive in all states. And California, Washington, and New Mexico, Americans drive in, and they deserve to be safe in those states like in every other state. So with that, I will take a couple of your questions. Yes?
I'm Pavanachari with Politico. In reference that this announcement is phase 1, what are additional steps that you would like to take to see this employed?
So this is the only phase I want to take. And we're giving 30 days for compliance because I don't want to take away their money. I don't. I want them to get these resources. But if not, this will be phase 1. I'm not going to lay out all of the phases that we have, tools that we have to garner compliance, but we have wonderful tools that will make it very challenging for states to do business if they don't comply.